Today on Exposed, the Calo podcast, police stations are closing from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. in Pennsylvania. And we may not have government support for police departments here, but China has a police station in New York City. That's right. And there's a new drug out. It's called TRANQ, and it's turning people into zombies. Plus, Biden's border bloodbath has allowed foreign gang leaders into America in great numbers. Next, what do you think about lowering the standards for doctors in order to meet DEI and racial quotas? Finally, Supreme Court Justice Jackson, she's concerned that the First Amendment is hamstringing the government from censorship. All this and more today on Exposed, the Calo podcast. So the Pittsburg police, listen, this is unbelievable. They decide that, certain divisions are going to close during certain hours, so they're not going to be open for the public.
Showing up to the Zone 3 police station in Allentown before 4:30 this afternoon, out of luck. Several people tell Channel 11 no one was there to take their complaints, and in one case, a protection from abuse order. 11 Investigates has widely reported on staffing issues at the department, leading to changes. Channel 11's Rich Pierce is outside of Zone 3 police station after finding out how this happened.
Unbelievable.
Zone 3 here already operates on limited hours. It's actually closed from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m., but today it was even longer, and police tell us that could happen anytime.
Yeah, it can happen anytime. The police station, we're just not open. We're closed for business today. But this is a result of what happened back in 2020 and 2021. We had riots and everything else happening, and all of these blue cities, especially, and many blue states have come down on the police officers. So, you can't even be a good Samaritan these days, because even good Samaritans get arrested for doing things that are good for the general public. Well, we got a lot of people who don't want to be police officers anymore, and it's because the town doesn't back them up. So every day they go out and risk their own lives, but yet can't really respond to whatever's happening on the scene at the time. So if somebody has a gun, they got to be careful. If they pull a gun, then they're going to be under inquiry. They'll probably be arrested, and who knows. So this is the result. And believe it or not, should Trump not be elected in November of 2024, this will accelerate. I'm talking accelerate across the country. Every blue state and every blue city will make it so that police officers will not be looking for a job as a police officer anymore. Instead, they'll work private security. They'll do anything but policing. And so they're having trouble getting police officers. Nobody wants the job. After all, who wants to risk their life for $40 or $50 or $60 or even $70,000 a year? I wouldn't, and I'm sure you wouldn't either. So be of good cheer, because all these leftist liberal wackos may not believe in law and order, but China does.
Here in New York City tonight, the FBI busting what they say was a secret police station here in New York run by the Chinese government, who they were monitoring and why. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas now.
Tonight, the FBI accusing the Chinese government of secretly operating a police station out of this unassuming building in the heart of New York City, the first ever case of its kind. Liu Jiang Wang and Chen Jinping, accusing them of working under the direction of China's Ministry of Public Security. Their office near Chinatown claimed to be a non-profit organization providing assistance to local residents of Chinese descent, including to help them get driver's licenses. But the FBI says the station was a hub of Chinese counterintelligence operations in New York City, used to harass and intimidate dissidents who dared to defy China.
So here we have China setting up a police station, in a major city in the United States, and yet it's like kind of undercover. And what are they doing? They're spying on their own people. They're following Chinese people around. They call them Chinese dissidents. They're following these people around. So law and order is stronger in China, and here they are in another country, and their law and order is still strong, following around their own people, making sure that, they're not stepping out of line. This is a sad time in which we live. I mean, when we have China being more along the lines of law and order than America, we've got some serious problems at hand. Now, I know this video, I pulled it out because I thought it was interesting. I thought it was sad, and I thought it was funny all at once. But yet, the truth of the matter is, we've got China here in the United States, the Chinese government, setting up police stations to spy on their own people. But yet, we Americans, we can't protect our own people. In fact, we can't even protect ourselves from the Chinese who set up police stations in our own cities, and our FBI finds out about it only because who? Only because investigative reporters, which there's very few of us left out there on the planet today, we're the ones that expose what's actually happening in the United States. God bless us, boy. We really need a change in the United States. Speaking of law and order, it seems we no longer also fight the war on drugs. You may remember when there was a war on drugs because it seemed that the government wanted to stop drugs from coming into the country. That's what it seemed like. Back in the days of Ronald Reagan, we all honestly believed that they were fighting the drug cartels. But come to find out, here we are a few decades later, and they were never looking to stop bringing drugs into the country. Who's they? Well, they is the deep state. Our president may have decided, and some of our legislators may have decided that they wanted to initiate a war against drugs. But when it got into the deep state's hands, FBI, CIA, and all the other 3- and 4-letter agencies, they're the ones that decided, look, there's a lot of money in this. We don't really want to stop it. We want to get our little piece. Let's make ourselves wealthy and rich. And that's what they did. The result of that is, as you know, fentanyl, which has made its way into the United States such a strong way. Over 100,000 people died just last year. And this year, the number is going to be even more staggering. But right now, we have more drugs being added to the scene on a regular basis. The new one that's out now is a drug called TRANQ. TRANQ. Watch this video together with me. Here it is.
A zombie drug is sweeping through America right now. Eerie footage coming out of Philadelphia shows crowds of people slouched over but still standing. The insane part is that this is a common scene in almost every major city in America. They look like they are conscious, but not at the same time. The drug they are on is called xylazine, or more commonly known as TRANQ. It is known to place people into a zombie-like state where they are unable to move and seem to lose all awareness. People using the drug are put into a complete trance and can be seen walking around like an animal. The drug causes infections of the limbs, which most commonly result in amputations. It has been described as being so addictive that even a single accidental hit of it could get you hooked. TRANQ is now in about 90% of Philadelphia's drug supply and can be commonly found in low-income areas of almost all U.S. cities. You can walk downtown right now and most likely see people like this.
Even an accidental dosage can get you hooked. That's how bad this drug is. And I've seen people like this, but I never kind of put 2 and 2 together. Doing a little research on this episode today, what I found was that this drug, xylazine, was used originally, it is a drug that was manufactured for horses and large animals in order to help them with pain management. And in human beings, when people take it, it affects the nervous system. And it causes, believe it or not, holes in your limbs, your body. Many people end up with huge swelling, and that swelling gets to the place where they actually have to amputate hands, legs, arms, literally. Unbelievable. But what you see and the way you could tell is the people are actually hunched over, as you were shown in the video, kind of like walking around on 4s, almost like an animal. And that's what the drug does to people, and nobody's stopping it. In fact, Biden administration has refused to basically implement a law or to implement an executive order or basically to do anything, because the drug enforcement agencies, all of our legislative body, have looked at this drug and said, well, this was made for horses. We don't want to have to deal. We don't want to put additional regulations on it. What? I don't understand. Why would they not want to put additional regulations on the use or manufacture of this drug? This is something that is killing people, and it's causing hysteria, if you will, even among drug users. They're getting more and more fearful. So instead, here's how it all works. The government instead is supplying drugs so that these people can have the drug of their choice administered to them at a place, that we pay for. So we're buying the drugs, administering the drugs, and giving them the drugs in order to keep them hooked on drugs. That's the solution that the government wants to take. It's not about trying to help these people. Now, the next few videos we're going to show kind of back to back, and then we'll talk a little bit more. Here they are.
Sidewalks along Kensington Avenue in Philadelphia because they're being heavily sedated by TRANQ, which is mixed in with highly addictive fentanyl and heroin. Fentanyl may be driving the fatal overdose rates in the United States, but TRANQ is leading to amputations because the people can't stop using it, and it's boring into their muscles and bones.
Next thing you know, you wake up with these big-ass holes all over you, these sores in your legs and wherever. They just
oh my God, it's a horrible drug.
The doctors told you that you could lose your leg.
Yes.
And that's not enough to get you to stop.
Trying. It's a lot easier said than done. We would wake up and we'd be completely sick.
Have the doctors or nurses said that you could lose your hands because of the TRANQ?
Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility. Yeah, it's a possibility. A lot of my friends have lost their limbs already.
You had problems on your legs?
I did, man. I had like a hole in my shin. There was a hole, man. I got in bed one night, man, and I was like washing my leg, and I could literally put 2 fingers in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That just appeared days ago.
Yeah. And see how deep it goes? Like, that's insane.
Ryan Green is a victim of a new street drug, eating away at the bodies of those who use it.
My arm swelled up like about this big, and it was like an abscess. It hurt so bad. This is a real TRANQ.
Oh my God.
TRANQ is fentanyl mixed with xylazine, an animal tranquilizer meant for horses and cattle.
You end up unconscious to the point where people will just rob you when you're asleep every time.
And it's completely taken over Philadelphia's Kensington neighborhood, block after block of devastating harm.
Many people here inject openly. And now the area is being ravaged by an insidious drug called xylazine, or TRANQ.
I'll tell you, I hate to be such a downer watching movies like this, little video clips. I've watched literally hours of these kind of videos in order to try to get a feel for what's actually happening in America right now. And for anyone to come away from this with anything other than the thought that this is purposeful, you got to be crazy, because it is. It's absolutely purposeful. Our government is allowing this. Our government is actually helping it along. And I didn't put together a little more investigative research on the supply side of this, but believe me, it's out there and it's available, where we have government agencies that are actually saying, oh yeah, we're getting the drugs, we're supplying it, and we're making sure that the people have clean needles to use in order to shoot up. So basically what's happening is we're having zombies on the streets of America right now, and our government, you and I, our tax dollars are being used to basically kill Americans, kill the dream, kill their hopes, and kill them physically. If this wasn't bad enough, which obviously it is, Biden is allowing illegals to have free reign of America all throughout our nation, blue cities mainly, blue states, and we're helpless to do anything about it.
We've got another tragic story connected to the border crisis. Travis Wolf was just one day away from celebrating his 12th birthday when a woman who was in the United States illegally from Venezuela crashed head-on into his family's Jeep.
Church teacher accused of abusing several children in Montgomery County, Maryland. Tonight, immigration officials tell us he was never supposed to be in the United States in the first place, and he had already been deported twice.
Yeah.
Palm Beach County deputies arrested 3 undocumented immigrants in Lake Worth Beach on sexual battery charges. According to the arrest affidavit, the 3 suspects, all from Guatemala, abducted a local woman along the street and threw her inside a truck. Authorities say the men drove off and stopped at a nearby intersection where they sexually assaulted her and filmed it.
The leader of a Colombian street gang, Los Antanas, has been arrested in Texas, where he was seeking asylum. Colombian authorities confirmed that he was one of the 7 most wanted murderers in Colombia's capital.
A woman accused in Mexico of several murders and body dismemberments, even removing victims' hearts, is arrested in El Paso. The FBI says Pineda was known for extreme brutality, dismembering bodies, removing hearts, and placing the hearts in front of Santa Muerte statues.
This is, again, purposeful. And not only is it allowed, but there's no follow-up. There's no criminal charges against these people. They're not deported. They're put into the system and then let go. That one woman, I mean, she brutally dismembers people, takes their hearts out, and then puts it in front of one of their statues and prays to it. These people are crazy. They're insane. 3 guys kidnap the girl, put her in a truck, take her to a place, rape her, and then dump her out on the street. And these are people that have been deported on multiple occasions and yet allowed back into the nation. How can we keep putting up with this? We just can't. I can tell you, Americans are not going to put up with this much longer. And when we begin to take back America, these sick and perverted excuses for human beings will be escorted out of America one way or another. That's not a threat. I'm just telling you, this is what's going to happen. Because if our government doesn't do it, then Americans will rise up and take matters into their own hands to be sure that our neighborhoods, our families, our churches, we're protected. We cannot allow ourselves to be open to this kind of, if you will, it's an attack against Americans directly. And it's all being supported by our own government. And we're the ones got to keep paying in taxes after taxes after taxes, prices going up, everything happening around us, and yet our government is not protecting our own citizens. Listen, President Trump is fighting every single day against the deep state who's been trying to take him down since the very beginning, since he announced his run for presidency back in 2016. This has got to come to an end. I mean, people don't like Trump, that's fine. That's up to you. You don't have to like him. But you got to know that he's fighting. Who's he fighting for? He's got to fight for himself now against all of this stuff. But who's he fighting for? He's fighting for us. Because if he were not in the way, they'd be coming after us. That's right. People like Elon Musk, they're putting themselves on the line by actually taking control of a major company like X, which was formerly Twitter. Believe it or not, he's under great scrutiny right now. And so are many other people who will dare to come against and speak against the government. But if we, you and I, America's citizens, remain silent, the government will be coming for us next. And you say, well, that's kind of crazy. Well, listen, all they want us to be is submissive. They just want us to just shut up, take whatever they take, give whatever they give us, and don't complain. Well, I don't know about you. I can't live life like that. And the people that I know don't live life like that. America, I grew up in a free America, and it's not free anymore. This is a result of allowing crazy liberals to have their own way. And it's about time we have to hold them to task. And we see this everywhere around us. The sad part is, I like to use Trump as an example because it's like one of the greatest examples that we've ever had in all of history of the deep state, of the government actually coming against a single American citizen. So regardless if you like him or you hate him, let's just take and use him as just Mr. X, Forget about who he is. Forget about his personality. Forget about anything. Just say Mr. X, who happens to be very wealthy and happened to be, wanting to run for president of the United States. Mr. X is being persecuted by the U.S. government. That should be enough to make you say, listen, I don't like the guy, but we can't have this because that makes us a banana republic. We can't go down this road. We can't allow prosecutors like Fani Willis in Georgia to just do whatever she wants to do, but yet she's getting away with it. I call it fake Fani Willis. That's who she is. She's a big phony. She's a big fake. And she's getting away with it, at least so far. I don't know how far this is going to go before somebody hopefully stands up and does the right thing and throws her off this case. Maybe the whole case goes away. I don't know. But this is a result of a purposeful attack against the United States of America. I want us to watch this next short clip. Here it is.
We're going to continue to look at this Donald Trump move right now to call into question the wisdom of keeping Fani Willis as a special prosecutor on that case in Georgia.
So the judge decides to keep Fani Willis on the case, and I wonder why. So a little research, and what I find is that judge, is up for reappointment again this year. And of course, he's got to play the game. And if he doesn't, he's not going to have a job. And you say, well, that's crazy. I know it is, but that's what's happening. See, justice is supposed to be blind. Justice is not supposed to look at the person, who they are, what they've done, whether you like them or you don't like them. Justice is supposed to be meted out as if it didn't matter who it is. But that is not what's happening in America right now. The chances of Fani Willis doing the right thing would be to step down. Okay, so, I don't want to persecute her for her personal decisions in her life, but yet she's made it a personal attack. She's made it her, if you will, the desire of her career to go out and attack Trump. And she made it publicly known. So therefore, she puts herself in this position of being attacked. So here she is claiming to be, self-righteous and doing all the right things. Even before, you may have seen it, she did a little interview before she was looking for this position. And she's, well, what you need is, a person who's not going to be sleeping with their, clients or sleeping with their whatever. This is exactly what she does. She goes out and sleeps with another guy who she's going to hire with government money to help them persecute Donald Trump. So she's got to be held to a higher standard than that. Do I think she's going to step down? No. But is she going to be thrown off the case? Well, I think, and I hope, and I pray that some common sense comes to play here. And there are a lot of very, if you will, people who have a desire to see justice in America. There are a lot of people like that in Georgia. There really are. And I'm praying that the people who realize that it is justice that is at stake here, I think they're going to come forward. That's my prayer. That's my hope. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but that's what I'm hoping is going to happen in the next few weeks, that we're going to see some semblance of sanity rise to the surface and say, hey, look, you did something wrong, regardless of what Trump did. I think it's time you got to step aside. And whether they bring a new prosecutor in or not, that's up to them. But I think we need to see justice all along the way. And it's got to start here. Now, this judge who was handling the Fani case, he's been compromised. And it's obvious because there's more than one thing going on here. Not only did she pay her lover, not only did she sleep with her lover, not only did she lie on the stand. I mean, these are multiple, every single one of these are multiple problems for her because she could be prosecuted for every one of these. Persecuted. Yeah, well, that's what I felt like saying. But she could be prosecuted. If it was you or I, we'd be prosecuted in a moment. You could bet on it. You could bet it for sure. If she were white, she would be prosecuted. I know. Sounds racist, right? I'm not racist, but they are. See, you can't fire a black woman. You can't. And that's this white judge. That's what he's up against. He can't fire her because otherwise he's going to reap the consequences of doing the right thing. Race. It's everywhere. And speaking of race, The medical system. Oh, this is so far beyond reality that you got to know. This is not like from the Babylon Bee. This is not like a joke. This is absolute reality. The medical system is actually discussing right now, actually it's been happening since 2021, but it's actually getting to the place where it's getting before Congress. They're considering lowering the standards for doctors in order to meet DEI and racial quotas. Yeah, you heard me right. So I got to ask you a question. When you go to the doctor, or if you know someone in your family that's recently gone to a doctor, they had a medical condition or problem, you want the best. Am I right? In fact, every time you talk to somebody, I got the best doctor. He's like the greatest. He's the best. Everybody wants the best. Whether they are or not, well, it's a matter of opinion, but everyone wants the best. And one way of knowing who the best is, like in my case, I had prostate cancer. I went and I found the best in New York. Great guy. What I did was I researched and I found out, how did he do in school? I want to know how he, graduated. Was he the top of his class or was he the bottom of his class? Because if he's the bottom of the class, forget about it. I ain't going to that guy. I want someone who is the best of the best. In other words, he's in the top 3, 4, 5%. Well, according to the new standards for DEI and racial considerations and racial quotas, we now have to allow people who are at the bottom of the class and even failed class. That's right. We have to allow them to get a medical degree and get a license to practice medicine. Now, who's going to want to go to this doctor? Well, let me tell you who's going to end up going to that doctor. The poor and the people who don't know any better. Why? Because people like you and I are going to investigate. We're going to research and find out this doctor that they're trying to send us to, is he really any good, or are they really any good? But the average person who's poor, who's destitute, who doesn't have anything, the government will pay these doctors in order to service these people who, well, they don't really care, if they die. Kind of like the people on TRANQ. Well, if they die, they die. Let's just help them along. Let's inject them. In fact, let's get the drugs for them. The government will buy the drugs from the drug dealers. Yeah. Oh, no, they wouldn't do that. No? Don't put anything past what they'll do. So I want us to look at this clip. This is Elon Musk. And you know Lemon, because this guy is got to be one of the dumbest people on television, at least my personal opinion. But Don Lemon is, let's watch it. And then we'll talk.
I believe that if we lower the standards for what it takes to become a doctor.
You're saying if we lower the standards, do you believe people are dying because the standards are being lowered?
I don't think that is yet an issue, but it could become an issue.
Okay. But the actual evidence in history shows the exact opposite. If you look at how minorities are treated by the medical system, most doctors now are white. And there are lots of mistakes in medicine. So you're saying that...
I wonder why.
White doctors have bad medical care? I'm trying to understand your logic here when it comes to DEI, because there's no actual evidence of what you're saying.
No, I said... So, if the standards... let's say... I think that particular thing was referring to surgeons. Let's say a surgeon is asked to... a surgeon in training is asked to do a series of operations under the supervision of a senior surgeon, and they get a bunch of those operations wrong. If that happens, and yet they are still approved to be a surgeon, the probability that someone will die, I think, at some point is high.
Okay, I understand that, but that's a hypothetical. That doesn't mean it's happening.
I didn't say it's happening.
You didn't say it was happening.
I said it will. I said if we lower standards, people will die.
But why respond to something or put something out there that has not happened? Because I could say,
because I don't want it to happen. I think we don't want to lower standards.
Okay, if you look at the history of the medical industry, especially when it comes to Black Americans, it shows the exact opposite.
Unbelievable.
The Tuskegee experiment and on and on. Only 5% of doctors in America are Black. All of them are white. So are you saying that if the majority of doctors are white, are you saying that and there are still these inequities, right? And people still there are still mistakes. Are you blaming DEI for that?
No, I'm very basically saying that if we lower standards for what it takes to become a board-certified surgeon or an oncologist or something where the kind of disease we're talking about, if you make a mistake, causes someone to die, then more people will die than if we don't lower the standards. Therefore, we should not lower the standards.
But why do you think they're lowering the standards for minority doctors or women doctors or?
That's what that's what that article suggested. Yes.
Yeah.
At Duke University.
Okay.
See, what Don Lemon doesn't want to acknowledge is the absolute truth. He's saying that there are more doctors in the world that are white than black, and that's a fact. And we acknowledge that. Musk was too nice to go there. I wouldn't be. Why are there more white doctors than black doctors? They're smarter. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. They studied more. They're more intense about what they want to do. They're more into what they're doing. So they studied harder in order to get better marks, better tests. What they want to do is reduce the standards of medical testing so that someone who is of a minority status or doesn't have the wherewithal or, desire to be the best can still get through and get a medical certificate as a doctor. And Lemon is going, well, that hasn't happened yet, so why would we focus on something that hasn't happened? Okay, because we don't want it to happen. That's why. Why would we want to open up the standards, reduce the standards, open it up to a wide variety of people who are not capable or able in the beginning? Why? Because maybe they didn't graduate high school. Oh, that's not going to be a requirement any longer. That's right. Oh, maybe they were, under 3.0 grade average. Well, it won't be a requirement anymore. Well, where do we establish the requirements? Well, no matter where we put them, there's going to be people who are on the DEI side and on the racial side. They're going to be saying, well, we have to lower their standards because we need more of this color or more of this nationality or more of these people. It shouldn't be about color. It shouldn't be about color at all. I don't care if you're black, white, Indian. I don't care what nationality, what race you are. It doesn't matter. If you do well, you get to graduate and get a degree. Period. End of story. And that should be the story. But it isn't, and it can't be, because whites always seem to come out on top. And so because of that, we have the people in the DEI side who are saying, we have to change the standards because whites are coming out too high. So in other words, they want us to just reduce the number of people who are good and qualified in order to get a medical degree or in order to practice medicine, so that we can get people in there who are of the right color and the right culture and the right background, so that we're at least more diverse. It's all about diversity instead of expertise. It's all about diversity instead of the people who are actually qualified for the job. That is wrong. You and I can see that. I know you know that. I made that point before we showed this video. I want the best working on me and my body and my family and my friends and the people that I know. I don't want someone who is unqualified or unable to be able to do the job. What's so wrong with that? Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but yet this is what we're facing. The ones with the highest scores should be the ones who get the accolades. They should be the ones who get the better jobs, who get the the most money. That's the way it should be. But the lower scores, these people somehow have become popular among our culture today. And they're popular only because of they're a different color or because they have a different cultural background. And that should be absolutely no reason whatsoever for us to look at making the tables equal. There is no equality. When it comes to the best is the best, regardless of their background. Period. End of story. Let's look at this picture. We put this up here. The report outlines practices and interventions that can increase racial, ethnic, gender, and socioeconomic diversity among the physician workforce. Okay, so this is an idea that DEI supposedly levels the playing field to everyone. So the medical field is saying we want to level the playing field for everyone out there. Doesn't matter who you are or what your background is. And this, my friends, is the American Medical Association working in conjunction right now with medical practices all across the country. And they're jumping on board, trying to pressure our Congress and our Senate in order to pass certain laws that will allow them to implement DEI and racial quotas in our medical administrations and fields and country, all across the country, our hospitals, our specialty clinics. Everywhere they want to be able to implement DEI and racial quotas. I don't know about you, but I'm definitely concerned because we're heading in the wrong direction. I can only hope that we start turning around to common sense somewhere along the road here. There has to be someone who stands up and says, look, this is crazy. This is wrong. We can't do it. But yet it is happening. And according to the Federalist, here it is, pictures on your screen right now. According to the Federalist, this is one of our justices on our Supreme Court. And Justice Jackson is obviously she's a smart woman. There's no doubt, because she's made it to this level. So I can't say she's not smart. I can't kind of degrade her in that manner. But yet she's choosing to go down a pathway because of her liberal beliefs. And this is what she said. She complains that the First Amendment is hamstringing the federal government in their censorship efforts. Okay, wait a minute. Hold it. So the government wants to censor Americans. And she's complaining that the First Amendment is prohibiting the government from being able to censor what is being put out there. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what the First Amendment is supposed to do. During oral arguments just recently, she basically opposed the First Amendment on the basis that it was prohibiting the federal government from protecting the people from themselves. That's her rationale. That somehow the federal government knows better than we, the people, and so they need to step in. And my friends, this is the problem. The government always thinks that they know better. The government always wants to be able to put what they believe ahead of what we believe. They want to make sure that the public has accurate information. So I want to read something to you. Listen carefully. This is what she says. The First Amendment, first of all, okay, the First Amendment guarantees that no religion will be established. It prohibits free exercise thereof. In other words, you and I can practice whatever we want to practice, if our religion, or whatever we choose. And the government can't tell us what we can or what we can't do. Let me read it to you, and then we're going to kind of get into this. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, nor abridging the freedom of speech. There it is. Freedom of speech of the press or of the right of the people to peaceably to assemble, petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now, I don't think she really understands what this is saying, because Justice Jackson is using the argument of the pandemic. And she was saying that there was misinformation, erroneous information being put out, that the government should have the right to step in and squash. No, that's not how it works. See, the government was the one putting out the false information, and that's the reason why we, the people, got onto social media, which is what she wants to squash, social media, got onto social media, and we put out the truth. But the government felt that we putting out the truth was inhibiting their ability to control we, the people. Do you understand? She is fighting on behalf of the government, the deep state, who wants to be able to control everything that we see, everything that we hear, therefore controlling everything that we do. This is huge. This is huge. What if there were a majority of people on the Supreme Court that believed like her? Where would we be? We'd be in serious trouble right now. We would be just like North Korea, parts of Russia. We would be a controlled country, a controlled people. Everything that we're being told, oh, wait a minute, I think it's already happening. We're already being controlled. We have to stop it. ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, they are controlled media. You ever notice how they all say the same thing at the same time? That's right. They're controlled by the government. They get their, information every single day via email or whatever way they get it. They get their talking points. They pull up their talking points, and it's just like they're reading from the teleprompter. They're brainwashing the American people that watch. That's why this is so dangerous, to have a Supreme Court justice who actually believes that the First Amendment is more for the government's protection than it is for the protection of we, the people in America. Speaking about protection, did you know that Islam is actually coming to conquer the United States? I know. It sounds crazy. It really does. In fact, somebody might say, I'm getting off into conspiracy theories. But 35% of people in Britain right now believe Islam is generally a threat to the British way of life. Gee, I wonder why. Well, if you remember back in the 80s, some of you may be old enough to remember back in the 80s, the police officers back then, they didn't carry guns in Britain. They had billy clubs. That's all they carried. That's all they needed. That's all they had. And then Islam began to march on Britain. And here we are a few decades later. They control much of Parliament. They control areas and sections of Britain, which are called no-go zones. You basically can't go in there unless you're Muslim. They actually implement Sharia law in many of these places, overseeing the law of Britain. In other words, Sharia law takes precedent over British law. Well, that's what they want in America. And we have a handful of people right now in our government that believe that they and their culture are better than America and its culture. In other words, they didn't assimilate into America. They came here and they became an American citizen, but they don't believe everything that America stands for. The destruction of the culture of England is now a proven fact. It's absolutely proven. And this destruction is already present here in America in a small number of people, but it's already started. Instead of assimilating into American culture, we have these people who are standing there and opposing us at every single chance they get. Now, when people take the oath to become an American citizen, they say this. Here it is. I hereby declare an oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or a citizen, that I will support and I will defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by law, and that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law, and that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, so help me God. Yeah. What God? See, the problem is this oath was written because back then, most of the people that came here believed in the God. God. Almighty God. We call him Jehovah God. And he's the God of the Bible. Allah is not. Allah is actually Satan, but we're not going to get into that today. But see, Islam believes in Allah as being God. So therefore, they could say this entire oath and pledge on it, swear on it, because they're lying to we, the infidel. And so to them, in their religion, that's perfectly okay. Let me get that right. They could lie, and it is perfectly okay for them to do so according to their own religion. The immigration issue is actually based on a more fundamental foundation. According to conservatives and libertarians, our immigration and the foundation of our immigration is based on people coming to America with the desire for a better life and leaving behind their old life, as this oath said, and leaving behind their old life and any fealty to that old life, and instead swearing allegiance to America, to follow America and America's laws and America's rules. Well, that's not what's happening today. That's why we can have people like, Rashida Tlaib and others, Ilhan Omar, and they could stand up in Congress and come against everything that the United States stands for. They can stand up in Congress and basically say that we are not supporting Israel, and therefore you, as our government, are doing wrong by supporting Israel. We support the Palestinian and Palestinian state. They could do things like that because they don't believe in America. They are against everything that America stands for. Islam, it's the one thing that they all can agree on, all Muslims, is that Islam should be the world religion. That's an absolute fact. They will tell you that. They believe Islam should be the world religion. So with that in mind, you have the far left and the far right in Islam. You have those that are, a little more radical and those who are not. I do agree with that. There are. But the more radical are the ones that are vocal. The more radical are the ones like the Rashida Tlaib and the Ilhan Omars of the world. And they come and they actively get involved in our government with the idea of undermining what we stand for. And here they are. They're at our doorstep. And it's not just me saying that. There are actually websites out there. I'd like you to go to this website. It's called Muslim Girl. That's right, muslimgirl.com. She also has control of another website called Allied Against Hate. And muslimgirl.com, she basically is trying to promote the idea of Islam all around the world. And they believe that certain movies in Hollywood, in fact, they're working against Hollywood right now, trying to stop many of the movies that have been popular over the past couple of decades, like Zero Dark 30 and others. They say that those movies are damaging the reputation of Muslims. Well, no, we're just basically showing what Muslims have done in the way of terror and terrorism. Let's face it, though, the greatest and the largest terrorist act that ever happened on American soil happened by, Muslims. Hello? And we as Americans, here we are over 20 years later, and we kind of forgot that. We kind of let it go. According to Muslim Girl, the movie Dark 030 has birthed a more Islamophobic America. That's why you hear that word everywhere. Well, you're Islamophobic. You're Islamic. No, I'm just looking at reality, and I'm looking at what happened in England. I'm looking at what happened. Islam came in and took over England. It is a completely different nation than it was just a generation ago. And Islam is not alone in wanting to come to America. Everybody wants to come to America. Why not? Because America is the land of the free, the home of the brave. It's the place where you can, with a dream, just become wealthy. And soon, we'll be seeing boats of Haitians on their way to America. That's right, folks. There'll be boatloads of Haitians. We're already being warned by the State Department because Antony Blinken and President Biden have been working very diligently on Haiti since 2021. You know what happened to Haiti since 2021? It's gone right down the tubes. That's right. The person that they put in charge in government has been rejected by the people of Haiti. And so once again, Biden's failed foreign policy is now causing more people to want to come to America, right in line with his open border policy. This is no coincidence. This is exactly planned by the Biden administration. And speaking about the Biden regime, we never get the whole truth because the media gives Biden cover 24/7. Here it is. I got it for you. Jobs report. The jobs report is something that comes out every single month that tells how many people were hired in the nation in different job sectors. And they've been promoting it very strongly since summer of 23 until now, how the Biden administration is just building back better. And we're getting more jobs. It's happening. Here it is. January jobs number was just revised lower by 129,000 people. In other words, 129,000 less jobs. See, the revision is something that happens because they get a report, and then that report goes public. The media puts it out there, but then it gets revised because that many people really weren't hired. See, it's an estimate. The initial jobs report is an estimate. It is not actual. The media only promotes the estimate and not the actual numbers. So this means that 10 of the last 12 months, we have seen a downward revision in the jobs reports. So we were talking about hundreds of thousands of jobs. Instead, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of jobs that have been revised downward. And that data has not been spread by the news media. Instead, the estimates are still being used by the Biden administration as if they're real. That's their talking points. Bidenomics is working, which obviously is an untruth. You and I see that. You and I know that. All it is another Pinocchio for the Biden administration. And another unfortunate truth that America's going to have to contend with sooner or later. It's a setup. It's all coming our way. We've got to be more aware of what we're actually being told, because most of what we're being told is a lie, my friends. Thanks for watching today. My name is Mike Calo for Exposed, the Calo podcast. God bless you, and God bless the great country of America.